I think one of the biggest things that I've gotten from Uncaged personally is really just reminding myself the importance of camaraderie. I've been through a ton of different teams and masterminds and communities and all these things over the years, and I've always considered myself a bit of a lone wolf. I prefer to go my own speed because I hate waiting for people. It's just my own personal thing. But what I found with Uncaged especially is being in that room, that community, that group, you forget how important it is to have people that you can both troll mercilessly and also have trolling you, because every once in a while someone will say something, and if it touches you in just the right spot, there's enough truth to it to know that you can continue to improve. And that to me is the whole point of a group like Uncaged, is having that group of people that'll say all the things you don't necessarily want to hear and also be there to hear those things for themselves. And I think that's been a huge takeaway for me.
Hell yeah, dude. I love it. And I mean, like if you're listening, like that's what all this is about. This channel, it's all about the journey to the top 1%, and how do we get there? It's by becoming 1% better daily. And that's why we have, these interviews and why we bring people on like Drewbie who are crushing it, but are still looking for ways to just make that minute change, because that 1% differential at such a high level, it's monumental. But man, why don't you tell the guys who you are, what you do, for those that don't know?
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Drewbie, the Meme Lord Wilson. If you can't see this on the video, I am the idiot that tattooed Meme Lord across my fingers because, I mean, in the years, I've been in sales my whole life. Grew up in the streets selling anything and everything I could get my hands on. As I got older, met a pretty lady, had a beautiful son, realized I didn't want to end up dead or in prison like so many of the people I knew in that life. And so, I mean, I have sold insurance and furniture and tobacco and consulting and marketing, and I've worked in a number of different industries across the entire country and the world at this point, focusing on sales, follow up, and just creating a genuine service inside of businesses. And that's essentially what we do here at Call the Damn Leads. It was originally a joke when I owned a marketing company because I could be really great at getting leads for you, but if you won't pick up the phone and call the damn leads, it's kind of pointless. And so what we do here at Call the Damn Leads is we help people build out those systems and processes so they can stay dialed in on a personal and a professional level. Because let's be honest, money's cool and we all want to make more money, but it is not the only finite resource that you have. The real finite resources are your time, your energy, and your effort, because those are things you can't buy more of. You can't win in a poker tournament. And as much as we'd love it, we don't get a card full of it on our birthdays. It's usually the opposite of, haha, you have one less year to live. Let's make a joke about it. But the truth is, you have one less year to live. And if you woke up today, we don't know if you're going to have 5 years or 5 minutes. So really focusing in on your time, your energy, and effort, and having a system and process to invest those wisely, the sales and all that other shit, man, that just happens. That's just part of the game.
Facts. There's definitely something tactical that I want to unpack there here in a little bit, but there's something that you said, and that's a good segue into something you mentioned at the beginning of this, and it's about the speed in which things get completed, right? I've talked about this a lot here recently, both in the group, on podcasts, like whatever the case is. I'm like getting my notebook out so I don't forget that tactical piece. But I've been studying a lot of billionaires lately, and the thing that's been really cool is like some of the common denominators of the ones that I'm studying is like speed to implementation or speed to market, whatever the case is, because some of these guys, they're instituting like 24-hour rules. Like, motherfucker, if you're gonna open your mouth about something and say like, oh, it's gonna be so important, like, then why is it not already done? Right. Like it's kind of shit like
Dang.
that. And so I want to hear from your perspective on that, because dude, I'm telling you, you've been around, massive, massive players in the game in all different industries, and you've been around, a lot of billionaires and, super high net worth, 8, 9 figure earners. Is like, what are you seeing like in the difference between, let's just call it what it is, the people being successful and the people that aren't, when it comes to speed?
When it comes to speed specifically, because there's so many different variables that lead to someone being successful or not. And, I'm going to segue this with success as a perspective. So my version is different than your version, Zach, and the listener probably has a different version. While there may be some similarities, at the end of the day, we all see it a little differently. And so for those who I see that are having the kind of success that I'm looking for in my life, when it comes to speed, like you said, man, they get right to it. They have the idea, and before the idea has even come out of their mouth fully, they've already got the MVP. They've got the minimum viable product or solution to put out there. And a lot of times, man, they've already done it, and they're not talking about it until they've seen some level for proof of concept. And I think you know, when it comes to speed, especially the fact that there are so many tools and resources that exist in 2025 when we're recording this, if you can't get something done within 24 hours, it's because you're literally just not doing anything. And I think that is really where I see a lot of people who are willing to say, I have this idea and I don't have to have it fully fleshed out in order to start working on it. But there's a lot of those individuals out there who are like, "Hey, I'm waiting for this, or I've got to get this in line first, or I've got XYZ problem that I have to figure out." And it's like it's not a problem until you get there. Like you got to get there before it's even a problem. So stop putting that as the excuse to getting started now, because I promise you, by the time you get there, you'll have probably already figured out the solution to that and have 10 other problems that you're working through. But the fact is, too many people are waiting for that perfect time to get started. And I promise you, billionaires and millionaires and all the people who are successful, they didn't wait. They just started working on it and they figured it out. And I think that's the thing is speed is about your FIO, your ability to figure it the fuck out. That's all it is.
No, I love that. And that's actually part of the one of the interviews that I heard from one of these guys was, he was like, most systems and processes would be like, cool, we're gonna put this on the topic, for next week's meeting, blah, blah, blah. He says, I've started it within 24 hours from me even it being a thought. He said, by the time you're having a meeting about it, I've already tried it 3 times, failed 3 times, and figured out what works.
Yep.
I'm real big on that. And then, let me say, I'm real big on learning that. And I know you're kind of experiencing this in a lens from watching me learn this in real time, because I know you and I throw each other, a bunch of the projects that we're kind of working on here and there. And that's part of like what you mentioned in the beginning that I wanted to tie in is so I too, even though it probably doesn't seem like it, like I too am just so used to no one works as hard as I do. No one works as fast as I do. So I kind of just, to your point, like stay in my own lane, focus on me and whatever the case is. But it's been fucking really, really cool seeing in my own life specifically how like people like yourself and Asa and Steven, who we all have adopted this like move fast, speed to market, speed to implementation, like vibe, if you will, where it's like, dude, between like the four of us, and I know there's a lot of other guys in Uncaged that have adopted it too, but like, bro, between the four of us, like, I can't fucking keep up with shit going on because, like, bro, we have an idea, we launch it, and it's rolling, and then it's like rapid fire, and so it's been cool to like just kind of hear your testimony on it, but like, what's it like when you get around other guys that are as advantageous as you are to building the plane while you fly it, moving quick, not stopping. Like, what's that experience been like for you?
I actually it's funny that you said, building the plane on the way down. I was gonna liken it to that video back in the day when Travis Pastrana jumped out of the airplane with no parachute. Was like literally, hey, I'm out the door, gone. And then he knew his homies were gonna be there to back him up. And I think that's really where, you kind of mentioned Steve and Asa and yourself and our little tribe of guys that are willing to do this crazy stuff. I think having that gives us the confidence to jump out of the plane with no parachute, knowing that, hey, man, wherever we are, there's someone that's going to come in and at least make sure we don't completely crash and burn. Now, there's no promises, right? Like, we're all making a crazy choice to jump out of that plane and try these things. And also that level of confidence to know, hey man, I got a homie that I can holler at and he'll swoop in and he'll make sure I don't hit the ground too hard. I really see that as that part of why we can do things the way that we do. And because so many of us are moving at that speed, it's reminding us that it's possible. And I think that's one of those things that we all come up against in our journey as we hit these immovable objects in the road. And it's not that they're immovable, it's just based on the perspective we have. We can't see everything that's going on. So going back to that analogy of jumping out of the plane with no chute, we might be 400 feet down further in the fall than the guys above us. That's what gives them the perspective to be like, hey man, I see you're headed for danger. Let me course correct you that 1%. Because if you're looking at, a football field and you're starting on touchdown, line here, 1% difference is going to be, are you going out of bounds or are you hitting the end zone? And I think that's really the awesome part of having people moving at that speed is everyone's at a different level based on where they are in their current jump. And that's what's crazy too, is these guys are jumping over and over and over. And you just know that at some point one of us doesn't have a parachute on. So we're watching out for each other to be like, hey man, you good? You good? You good?
Yeah.
Bam. All right, we're hitting the ground. Let's load up the plane and let's go again.
No, man, I love that. And that's a dope analogy. And, also too, to like kind of take the perspective of like having these spotters and stuff like that it is a good point to bring up now that you mention it. Like, because when we get in these zones, you're forced to put blinders on. And there can be a pro and a con, right? Like,
Yep.
yes, we're blocking out distractions, but we also potentially might be blocking out other opportunities as it comes up when we're sprinting as fast as we do. So it's definitely important to your point, like having guys that share same vision, mission, like ethics, morals, you name it, to your point, that can course correct you, because it's that same thing, man. Like, a 1% difference at such a high level, it can put you super far off course. Like whatever the case is, it was funny. My brother, I was talking to my brother, he does all those crazy, like, he'll hike the Appalachian Trail or the Continental Divide and all these things. And I was asking him about the differences between some of these hikes that, have taken him like 6+ months to complete. And he started talking about like technicality versus like physicality, because, on, I think it's the Continental Divide, when you're like, man, when you're hiking through the desert and like you lose your path, you might think you're going straight or whatever the case, heading towards your goal, and you finally get to like where the entrance to this next phase of it is, and you're miles off course, dude. It's fucking wild. And then the last part of that too was, he was talking about when you get up to some of the northern parts where it snows so much. He said, you have to be able to think for yourself. So here's like a really cool way to like dissect this is, because you might see some footprints and it's snow covered, heavy snowfall. You can judge like how fresh some of these tracks are, but some of those motherfuckers might not have known where they were going either. So like you can end up trying to follow someone else's footsteps and end up again way off course. So it was like taking this hybrid approach of having other people around you, whether they came before you or after you. And that's where, like, to our point is with these guys that we're running with, is it's almost like you have that person right there that's like saying, like, hey, bro, I did try that way. This ain't for you, dog.
Go back.
Yeah,
Go
go.
back. You don't want to do this, man. I promise you. And
Yeah.
I think what's cool is too what you said about putting on blinders is a lot of times, man, when we're in the thick of battle, you're not always thinking straight. And you're like, yeah, I'm on the path. I know where I'm supposed to be going. I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing, but it doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes. And like talking about the long, I remember when I was doing my 216-mile bike ride. I was at mile 170 something and completely took a wrong turn, not thinking about it. Just like casual, it's the same path I've ridden down 100 times. And for whatever reason, being tired and being in that moment, I took a wrong turn and it led me 5 miles off course into the wind, direct headwind, sun, not a tree or shade in sight. And it's those situations where you have to be able to fall back on your ability to just say, well, I screwed this one up. Uh, What do I got to do to fix it? And it's so much nicer when you can reach out to someone in your crew and be like, yo, this is where I'm at. There's nothing anyone else can do for me in the moment, but I just want to make you aware so that I can process this and get to where I'm supposed to be. And that is something that I think is almost invaluable in a community, in a friendship, a tribe, whatever you want to call it, because there are certain people that will let you spit out what you need to spit out and verbally process it and just know that you're good and they're not going to try to give you your feedback. They're not going to always troll you as much as we troll you, Zach, but like sometimes it's good to have those people in your life that you can throw something at and they're just like, yep, loud and clear, big dog. I got you. Holler if you need me.
Yep. No, for sure. And while you were saying that too, I guess it's gonna be the fucking episode full of analogies. But with that said, I like that because I also like the fact that like while we're here to be a sounding board, like we're also gonna make sure that you're doing the work. Because at the end of the day, like if you're not doing the work, to your point, you rode this fucking route hundreds of times, and yet you still, and part of that comes from fatigue and stuff like that. And it brings me to a story I learned when I was getting my handgun carry permit. This dude was talking about the need to be like, actually training under real circumstances because they had like real life scenarios that they would walk you through and stuff. And he was telling us a story about someone that he personally trained. This dude like was pretty trained to the teeth as far as like in an actual shooting range shooting. Because like once you get certified enough, you can go all the way at this location, all the way down to the end where like they didn't have the bars, so you could actually do like hip draws and stuff like that and firing. And this dude, a person that like theoretically trained for all of this, he wasn't like prior military or anything, just a civilian that liked shooting guns. And he walks in on a B&E in his own house. And he walks in. So here's like, here's the fucking moment, bro. And the way the house is set up, you walk in like big room off to the left and the right, and it's the hallway. And then in the hallway is like a half bathroom. And then the kitchen is at the end of it. Well, this person that was breaking into his house was in the kitchen. He walks in, catches him in that. So the dude like starts barreling towards him down the hallway to go run away. And this dude draws his pistol. And as the as the guy, the perpetrator is running past the bathroom, he sees the reflection of the guy in the mirror in the bathroom because they had like two fucking mirrors that, like the infinity mirror. And he draws his pistol and shoots the mirror. Like the instinct just all went out the door. And so like the dude like, bumps into him. He popped like two off in his hip as he passed him. So like it is what it is. But like, and it's these things that you don't get the full like training on until you're really live in the moment. So like to your point, you could sit there and fucking take all your notes and learn all your lessons and read all your fucking books and take all your courses and go to the seminars. But until you start fucking building the plane while you fly it, dude, none of it's actually gonna like really sink in and be applicable.
It's so interesting how that stuff like it all plays into each other and we've all you and I have both spent stupid amounts of money on mentors and coaches and training and all these things, and when I was working with one of the ex special forces guy, I would always come in with like, hey man, give me this high level training, this, and he'd be like, nope, we're gonna do the basics because the basics is what wins wars. And in the heat of battle, if you can't pull your weapon out of the holster and point it in the right direction, you're dead. Plain and simple. And that has stuck with me on so many levels because as humans, we overcomplicate shit, especially when it comes to like sales and follow up. And what do I say? Hello. Start there. How are you today? Like it's so much simpler than we make it. And what happens though is because humans have this fight or flight response and we have this amazing ability to drum up all sorts of anxiety and traumas and all these things before we go do the thing we're supposed to do. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's easy to see why people don't do the stuff because it is hard. It is work. And at the end of the day, man, the work is what gets results. And a lot of times people will sacrifice the results that they want because they aren't willing to do the work to get them.
Yeah. And I think that too, so Stoller talks about a story from his dad. His dad was like in the financial advisory space, and there was this like older gentleman that like walked in to all these conferences with like briefcase of like 100 grand or 50 grand, or maybe it was more than that. And he had this, this old school like briefcase full of cash, and he was like always going from one seminar to the next and gathering all the information, gathering all the information, gathering all the information. Motherfucker died with that briefcase full of cash. And so that's, to your point, like that's been one of the biggest takeaways from me out of all that money that you and I've spent on like these mentorships and these masterminds and stuff, is at the end of the day, if all you're doing is collecting information and never applying it, it's literally the biggest waste of money you could ever expense. And that's why, in Uncaged, like that's part of my like pitch to some of these guys. It's like, look, man, you want to come in? We'd love to have you. Just full transparency, like ain't none of us coming to save you, bro. We all have our own shit storms that we're worried about, and we're not mind readers. So we can't just like, oh man, by the way, Drewbie, I can pick up the fact that you're, failing to finish your funnels or whatever. Like, we don't know. And so, for me, that's been one of the coolest things, to kind of go back to something that you mentioned earlier about like, us kind of picking on each other. And even you and I have had our own, we would call it a back and forth, like by descriptions, like motherfucker, damn, Drewbie said some shit that pissed me off. Well, why'd it piss me off? You
Yeah.
start going down that rabbit hole. I'm like, oh shit, like I am emotionally attached to this, and I'm just one person. And so when you start looking at it from a consumer perspective or whatever the case, you're like, holy shit, man, like this motherfucker's right. I mean, even you, it wasn't in Uncaged, but like, you even had one of your funnels recently like ripped off, and it just shone light on additional opportunity for you. Like, what's that experience been like?
I think one of the biggest things for me in like being willing to accept I don't know what I don't know, and also objectively, I've got 10 years of experience in this world now. So there are things that I have forgotten that I know, just in the sense of I've taken in so much information that there are things that get displaced or moved around. And one of the most important things is to accept feedback, not criticism. And it can be hard to differentiate between those two sometimes, because sometimes you hear it and you hear like you're being criticized. And I think this happens as much in a professional world as a personal world. So, like spouses and things like this, the communication that you have, you hear it and you're like, why are you criticizing me right now? And it's not always criticizing. Sometimes it's feedback, but that the way that we take it emotionally, it flips it on its head, and we don't want to hear the thing that we need to hear. And what's crazy for me is, having spent tens of thousands of dollars on psychology and NLP and NEPQ and all these different sales trainings, the biggest thing that I learned is that it all comes to communication. And communication is as much you shutting the hell up and letting someone else speak as it is you returning back with what you want to say. And a lot of times in those situations, if you're heightened, your adrenaline, your dopamine, whatever, if those things are up because you're in a fight or flight situation, the perspective in which you see, hear, and feel things can be totally different. And we've all been in a scenario where we've said something to someone and it was like totally a joke and we all laughed about it. And then literally 3 days later, we say the same joke and it turns into an absolute shit show. And it's like, whoa, 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 why are you like, what's going on? It's because the space that you're in that moment makes all the difference about where you go with that reception of information. Because you either have to react or you have to do nothing, which takes twice as much effort to not react when you're in an emotional state. And that's one of the things, that balancing your emotions, understanding how to control those things and see it from a different perspective. Or, hey, how am I putting my own bias on this scenario? And as you said, stepping out of that so that you can take your bias away and accept that there are certain things that you're doing or not doing that objectively aren't getting your message across. And if someone's goal is to help you, sometimes you got to be willing to accept that you need the help.
Oh man, that's huge. And that's and honestly that's probably like a good conversation to have about like what you do specifically because uh we saw the most, you were like traditionally sales and like I was traditionally marketing. And it's funny that like we both came to these realizations like separate before like having the relationship we do now where we have talked through these things is you have these two departments that are arguably two of the most important departments in any organization, and they're so fucking combative against each other. Like you got like sales department that's like, bro, marketing, their leads are trash. You got marketing departments like, yeah, well, your sales department can't close a fucking door and like and all this stuff. And a lot of it, to your point, like to kind of have a little smoother transition, is the ability to receive and give this information, which arguably should be both your marketing and your salespeople's biggest strong points, which is communication and matching people at the frequencies that they are to be able to extract the information they need to close the deal or to attract a lead. And so for me, like, our biggest and best years and greatest results were from us understanding that we needed to synergize these two departments because without them being in sync, I mean, you're just burning money. So, like, what was like kind of your experience, like, to kind of give some of the people a little bit more tactical things? I love this episode so far, but like, let's give these motherfuckers some real shit to like change the trajectory of what they're doing.
So where this really like the epiphany bridge, right? If you want to go back to the old school .com secrets of this, right? The epiphany bridge for me was, yeah, it's in there somewhere, I know.
Yeah.
Um it was really, I've been a hustler my whole life. Like I've been in sales, flipping and selling whatever, whenever. Now, what I've learned over the years is that to make more money, you just have to be selling the right products. Because it's either you sell more of the thing that you're selling at a really, really low cost, or you sell less of something at a much higher cost with a bigger split for you. And like that's a whole tactical conversation we could go down. But for me, it was really like, hey man, I was a hustler and I got this opportunity to go sell insurance for someone, and they're like, "Listen, man, this is going to be the greatest opportunity you're ever going to have because you're a dropout drug dealer, blah blah blah." I wasn't a dropout, but 1.6 GPA at graduation, 30 some days missed my senior year. I might as well have been dropped out at that point. Um, and what I learned is that I could sell, and I could sell really well. I was one of the top producers in my market. I'm not saying I was the top producer,
Sure.
but all things considered, I was in the top. And I hit a plateau where I was making 40 grand a year. And again, being someone who barely graduated, all the things that I had going on, I was like, this is not terrible. Until I saw someone on YouTube screaming, "Hey, if you're in sales and you're not making 10 grand a month, you're a loser and you should get out of sales." And I went, "Man, yeah, you don't know me, son. You don't know my." But the truth is the truth. And that was one of those things that I heard as criticism and also realized the feedback of it was the facts because I was working my tail off. I was doing the work. And so I went to the guy I worked for at the time and I'm like, "Hey man, like I'm doing all this, we're winning all these awards. I want to make 100 grand. What do I got to do?" And he said, "You got to be patient. Someday it'll be your name on the door and you'll own this thing and you'll get to run things how you want to run them." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool and I appreciate the opportunity here, but like I'm not a patient person and I don't want to wait 10 years to be making that kind of money. So like what do I got to do to make more sales?" And it was just, as to quote my friend Zach Williams, a math problem. If I had more leads, I would sell more stuff, I'd make more money. It was kind of simple. And so, not knowing anything about marketing other than, hey, there's these dudes on the internet that are talking about these things called funnels and like woofu pages and all this stuff, and they're getting leads for 25 cents a piece. I'm paying 25 bucks. Fuck, if I can get them for 25 cents, that's 1,000 leads, and my close rate's 36%. So what's the math on that, big dog? Like, let's go. And that's when I went online and I started learning how to do marketing and understanding that there is a direct correlation between what you say in your marketing and how much easier it is to sell someone when they finally get on the phone with you. And as I started putting these things together and I started making more sales and having more success and learning how to communicate not just the thing that I offer and I sell, but also what it does for the individual and how they're going to benefit from it on a level that wasn't just about, hey, pay me your money. Everything changed. And I had people who then started reaching out to me going, hey, man, like you were already one of the top dogs and you're doubling and tripling your production. What are you doing and is it legal? Because you and I both know, Zach, that there are
Yeah.
times where you start doing some amazing things and people start questioning, hey, is that legal? Are
Yeah.
you in the drug business? Are you selling Forex or some kind of crazy shit? Like, what's going on here, man? And I'm like, guys, I learned how to do marketing and I'm getting my own leads and like, I'll teach you how to do it. And they're like, I don't have time for that. How much for you to set it up for me? Light bulb. Made 10 grand in a weekend, had never made 10 grand in a month working 40, 60 hours a week. And I went, I'm in the wrong business. So I was like, well, I'm going to start a marketing company because, duh, this is easy money, bro. Like, let's go. Until I had 10 or 15 clients. And it doesn't matter how great I am at marketing. As you mentioned, if the sales team doesn't pick up the phone and call the damn leads, it's not going to get any results. And all the person that's spending the money on the marketing sees is that check going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Here's another Facebook receipt for $500 of ad spend. Here's another Facebook receipt for $1,000 in, consulting fees, whatever. All they're seeing is the outflow. And that was when really Call the Damn Leads was born because I would have these clients who'd call me and be like, this isn't working and I want my money back. And I'm like, pick up the phone and call the damn leads. And that was really where I had understood that I have to create a process and a system that someone can actually follow because people don't know what they don't know. And I promise you that when you were in school, they didn't teach you how to do your taxes. They didn't teach you how to build a marketing machine. They didn't teach you any of this shit, especially those that go to school for like dentistry and becoming doctors. They teach you how to do that. They don't teach you how to build a business. And so you have to create these processes and these frameworks if you want someone else to be successful with your product or service. And I think that's something that the marketing team and the sales department can do a much better job of coming together on so that it's like, hey, what are you guys saying on the front end? That way, when I get to them, by the time they're here, we're having the same conversation. And that's often why a lot of times sales guys are going, man, these leads suck. Well, it's because the lead gen guys are saying, hey, you're going to get $100 to talk to our dude. And by the time they go through all the 17 different steps to get to you, they're like, hey, man, I just want my $100 gift card. And you're like, what the fuck does a $100 gift card have to do with you saving money on insurance? Like, if you want to save $100, bro, let's do it. And they're like, no, 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 I just want the gift card. Marketing and sales has to work together. You have to be having the same conversation. You have to know, who are we helping? Why are they even here? What the hell are they here for? And how am I going to make sure that if they do this, they know what's going to happen next?
100%, man. And that's, that was like a lot of our experience through the process and like some of these big realizations, in running a marketing agency, and why we blew up is because we were able to communicate with the sales team the importance of working together. Because, as business owners, a lot of times the fly-by-night marketing agencies think that, oh, we want to double revenue. Okay, that just means we need to double the amount of leads that we get in, right? Well, there's part of that is true, whereas good marketing is attracting the right customer. Great marketing is attracting the right customer and repelling the wrong, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
as you start to increase lead volume, then what we focused on is decreasing, pardon me, the sales cycle, which is having a more informed or ready to buy lead, right? So it's not all leads are good leads. And then what we were doing was finding ways, synergizing the two departments to increase the conversion rate. Because as you had the marketing guys bringing leads in, they're talking to the sales guys like, hey, what are the same questions you are getting over and over? Like, what is when you went, we even took it a step to where we have conversations with fulfillment team. Fulfillment team is like, hey, your first conversation you have with these people, what questions are you asking? Like trying to find a way to completely reverse engineer the customer journey. And like, bro, we're talking like once we figured that shit out, dude, and got everyone on the same page. I mean, scalability almost becomes infinitely possible. You then start having fulfillment issues. But I mean, bro, we have a very identical story when it comes to like realization.
I think that's the thing, though, that why, first of all, birds of a feather flock together. And though we're all a bunch of degenerates and uncaged, we all realize that the degeneracy has led us to this opportunity to help other people who have been down the paths we've been down. And a lot of times, bro, it's not that we're going to tell you not to go down the path because you're going to go. Even if someone tells you not to, you're more likely to do it. But if we can at least tell you, hey, man, you're going to go down this path, and these are the pitfalls that you're going to run into, and this is where it's going to get slick, and this is where it's likely to have XYZ going on. And oh, yeah, don't forget the snake right around that corner. Everybody gets caught by him. It's just whether or not you choose to get bit. It's just a decision you have to make. And the more informed you are, the better the decisions you can make. And that to me is really why it comes back to the systems and processes, right? When I think about sales, what's the process that I'm running through? Well, I'm running through the calls process. I'm confirming the reason we're even here to have a conversation. Because if we're not here for the same conversation, it makes zero sense. And then once I know that we're having the same conversation, I need to ask you the right questions. If I ask you the right questions, you're going to tell me everything I need to know. And that just requires me to listen. And if I'm listening, then all the questions I'm asking are giving me the roadmap that I need to lay out that plan for success. And if I've laid out the plan for success and you and I are having the same conversation and you already feel confident, then all I got to do is secure the bag. CALLS, calls, baby. Confirm, ask, listen, lay out the plan, and secure the bag. Same process every time. And as you said, it's quick to repel the people who are not good business. Because not all business is good business, you guys. If you take nothing else away from today's conversation, not all business is good business. And the sooner you understand who you should not be doing business with, the sooner you'll start finding the people that you should. I know that sounds crazy. It's a little woo woo, but it's the truth.
We can show you time and time again that it's played out. We had a huge conversation about that on the roundtable call actually on Tuesday, and no, man, I couldn't agree more. And that's one of the things that I love about Uncaged is just like the amount of guys in the group like yourself that have been bit by the snake over and over and over again, and are turning around and trying to shine a little light on the path, for the guys that are up and coming. And that's also been like one of the fun things in the program is like seeing like this like kind of ascension ladder of like what values in the group, who's in here, and like how do we all collectively grow together. Because man, I'll tell you, like right around the time like you probably first met me, was like really when I was starting to see like the rocket takeoff of like success. And so like I'm getting around these people, and because it was like a lack of experience in the realm, man, I started seeing like the opportunity for like jealousy to like really creep up. Because like I'm like, motherfucker, I'm working hard. Like, motherfucker, I'm doing cool shit. Like, whatever, like, why not me? Like this stuff, like this kind of thought process. And so I had to kind of go down that path. And albeit some of the circles that I was involved with, there wasn't like a helping hand reaching back trying to pull people up. There was a handout that was asking for money, or what can you do for me. And so that's been like one of the things like what I've enjoyed about Uncaged specifically is being able to sit down at tables. I mean, we got guys just now. I mean, we've got dudes that are running $100 million a year businesses, like telling motherfuckers where to go to set up an LLC, right? Like in like fucking literally everything in between. And so it's been really cool to go through this process and see, to your point, how like I am trying to help other people get to quote unquote where I am. And then like when I turn around, because that law of reciprocity, I'm seeing someone much further along than I am, or even just a few steps up further than I am. And they're doing the same thing for me. And so that's been really exciting. I mean, you and yourself, like you and I both have a very similar, experiences and upbringings and things that we've learned, but it's been really cool to like run beside you and like have this like healthy competition. Like, motherfucker, we going for this, bro, together, but we going.
I often I like kind of make the similarity of I love road bikes, and one of the things I love to watch is the Tour de France, which is a boatload of dudes all riding their bikes hundreds of miles a day for like 17 straight days. And if you watch, they work together. there's usually one guy that they kind of have like, hey man, he's our dude this year. He's the one we're pushing for, but everybody's working together to help him. And on occasion, one of those dudes that's like, hey man, this is your race, go get it. And even though they're set to win the whole thing, they're willing to sacrifice one or two stages along the way, knowing that putting one of their guys in front is actually giving them someone to draft behind. Because there's something to be said about social drafting in that someone around you is doing the thing that you want to do. And if you can get in behind them on the path while they're putting out maximum energy and you're able to keep up ish at like 60 to 70%. And that's where you're maintaining your ability to sustain that longevity of the course because you're working with somebody that's putting out more effort than you and giving you a chance to stay behind them in that draft. Now, there are going to be times where you're going to have to step up and you're going to have to put the fucking pedal down and you're going to have to get out front and let them draft behind you. That's how this works. And that's what I love about you and me and Steven and Asa is like at any given point over the last 5 years, one of us has been significantly farther ahead than the other. And then also hit that wall where we've had, hey man, I got to slow it up and I got to reset myself and I got to take a few steps back. And one of the other guys is willing to step in and lead the way. And because we can do that and because we've developed the ability to kind of make that hand signal of like, yo, tap me out, big dog, I got to get out of here. It allows us to run in sync. And when, again, you watch the Tour de France, you see these guys and they're in this pack and the way that they jostle around, you're thinking, man, one dude goes down and this is going to be an absolute shit show. And also because of the synchronicity, because everybody's got the same mission and the same goal, and we're all doing it for different reasons, but we're all agreeing upon we're doing it because we want to win. And that is a level of camaraderie and tribe that is hard to find. But when you find it, man, it's also hard to get away from. Because there have been times where I'm like, well, does it make sense for me being uncaged? You know, I spent a lot of time in there shooting the shit and trolling people, and is it a distraction? Sometimes, but it's only if I let it be the distraction. If I use it intentionally and I use it in the way that it was designed, it's not a distraction. It's a tool that I can use for my success. And I think that is the difference for so many people. And you have to be able to help find that, not just in yourself, but in others of why are you here? Because if you're here for a reason, we're here to help you achieve that reason. But if you're just here to fuck off, then we can't really waste time with you, dude. Like, no offense. We're all here screwing around and joking. And also, we're doing that in a way that gets that heaviness off of our shoulders so that we can get out and run the race that we need to run.
Yeah. Bro, that's yes. I don't know if I could say it any better myself, but that's no, I agree 1,000,000%, dude. And that's what's been really fun. Is to your point, like finding the guys that I actually enjoy doing life with and the guys that like I want to win with. Like these are motherfuckers that like when I'm up on that podium, I don't give a fuck first, second, third, whatever, you know. These are motherfuckers that like I'm equally as excited to see them win as I am to see myself win. So that's been fun. But man, I fucking appreciate the time you spent with us here today. Like, what can we do to pay you back for the time that we spent here today?
Man, number one thing I ask is if you're listening to this, share it on social media. Tag me at Call the Damn Leads, tag Zach, tag the Uncaged crew, like tag all the people. And also send it to somebody who you know that's struggling right now, that you see is putting in the work. And also, you know they're growing through some shit because they all need to know that they're not alone. And so, if you would do me that favor, if you'll send this out, share it on social media, tag us, it's going to make me know. And you know, I call the damn leads. So, you're going to hear from me. And if you don't, which you will, but if you didn't, you would go to call the damn leads and it's going to follow you around for life because I become an expert marketer who also can sell some stuff. And I can sell some stuff because I already know what you're going through because I've been down that path 9 out of 10 times. I've been bitten by the snake and I've also learned how to avoid those pitfalls. So if that's something that you're trying to figure out, come and see us, man. I've got 4 books I've written. I've got courses. I've got all kinds of shit. I got a podcast with 70 episodes on one and 900 on another. I've got so much free content that you could literally listen to something new every single day for the next 2 years and not repeat it. And also, if you want to save that 2 years of time and you want to get around people who can help you draft to where you're trying to go, jump into Uncaged, be a part of this, man. That's what this crew is here for, is to help you draft behind some people that are already heading that way. And it's just your choice if you're willing to put in the work to stay behind us.
Fuck yeah, bro. Well, that was my sign off too. So, so I have
Yoink!
nothing left to say. But guys, thank y'all so much for hanging out. Do what Drewbie said. If y'all can't find him for whatever fucking odd reason, reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to connect you to. But we love you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.